Welcome to the Hard Truth Podcast. This is Jeremy Fouts, and we have a special guest with us today out of Austin, Texas, Matt Lupi. Matt Lupi is a fitness coach in Austin, Texas, also a podcast host, the Defined Success Podcast. So he is definitely someone that is really focused in making an impact in people's life. You guys know the only guest that I have on the show is someone that their heart is in the right place, someone that is really dedicated to what they're doing on a daily basis. And Matt is one of those individuals. He is definitely one of those guys. And we're going to name this podcast Unlock Your Full Potential, Physical and Mental. I love that about Matt. So many times, personal trainers, all they want to do, is focus on the physical. And I've learned, Matt, and I know you have too, in your journey, we got to get the mind right before we can fix the physical. So I love that about you and your coaching and working with your clients. So Matt, it's a pleasure and honor to have you on today's Hard Truth Podcast. Give us a little bit of background before we get started, a little bit how you got into the space, what you really love about it the most, and some of the things that really give back to you watching make an impact in others.
Yeah, awesome. Well, Jeremy, I appreciate you having me on. Really excited for this opportunity. Appreciate the kind words and happy to have this conversation today. So a little bit about my background. So I grew up in Pennsylvania. I was always active as a kid. I grew up playing sports. I ran a landscaping service throughout high school and college, helping so many homeowners in my hometown. So I always knew hey, I want to perform as an athlete. I also have a business entrepreneurial mind. I go to college, had no idea what I wanted to do. I started down the pre-med track, quickly realized that was not for me. Then I go and switch and start doing sports business. And I go through that path for the rest of my college career. And throughout, I started to invest more into lifting. So in college, I did my first powerlifting meet. I hired a coach and I was like, you know what, I have some strength. I want to see, what I'm made of and what I can accomplish. So I do my first powerlifting meet, come in first place. And I was like, this is fun to me, challenging myself mentally, physically, and learning more about the body and what it can, withstand. So after college, I took a chance on myself and moved to Austin, Texas with really nothing to help me down there. I didn't know any people. Family was not down there. Didn't have a job lined up. I just went for it. And was figuring out life after that. I was 21, 22 at the time. And quickly after stumbled across a gym called The Collective in Austin. This gym is unlike any other. It's a social performance club. It's exclusive, it's private. And I just went up to them and I said, hey, I want to work for free. I'll do anything. And I just want opportunity. So I started working the front desk and, that led to different opportunities where I started to become a coach here. I started building out online coaching. I've always been a student of personal development. I always knew that I had more potential as a man, and I want others to feel the same way, whether it's them leveling up in their physical life or their mental life. So that's what I'm working on, and Austin's a perfect place for that. So I'm blessed to be where I am today.
Yeah. I tell you, personal development, I really got into personal development, Matt, in my 20s as well. And being 48 now, as I coach a lot of men, that's 35, 40-year-old, not in fitness, but more in mindset and just in life. I talk to them, I just say, hey, man, what are we doing for personal development? And they look at me like I'm crazy. They're like, I have no idea, and so, you know, and I know how important it is to work the muscle, but the biggest muscle we got is the brain. And so many people don't put into that. And I know, from talking to you and building a relationship with you, one of the things that you're really good at and work with your clients is working through the different pain points and helping people reach their full potential. So when you're working with those clients, what are some of the things you help them with those things? I mean, because I know a lot of people, they don't even know what their full potential is.
Yeah, I love the quote by Ed Milet, you're most qualified to help the person that you used to be. And that's what I want to embody. That's the coach I want to be. I want to help that kid that I used to be, because I was someone that I didn't have muscle mass. I was not confident. I didn't know what direction I was heading in life, and I was lost. I grew up with a great family. I grew up in a great area. Like, things were good, but I knew there's a lot being left on the table, and I was not okay with that. So as I started going down the personal development path, I was like, there is so much more for me, and I want to go get it. But I know not everybody has that instant mindset switch of, I'm going to go change my life. So when I talk to people, I figure out, okay, what is your biggest dream? And we're not going to talk about like, hey, I want this small promotion at work, or maybe this would be better if I move into this apartment, like small goals. Like, let's dream big and let's figure out why you want to get there. Maybe that goal is irrelevant. Maybe it's not like actually meaningful to you, but you probably want that job you are envisioning because you want to serve others, because you want to be in that line of career. So let's think big and let's figure out why you haven't been putting the work to get there. And a lot of times it's because they don't believe in themselves. So we're going through different practices to figure out, okay, how can we build that self-belief, that self-confidence? A lot of it's through action. So I put them through training. We're going to train the body because that builds a lot of confidence. We're also going to talk about that mental performance. We're going to have you reading books. We're going to talk about them. And through that repetition, you're going to start to realize day after day, I can be doing more because I'm starting to make progress.
Yep. Yeah. Reading books. I mean, I tell everyone, I grew up in a home that, I watched my dad read. I had dyslexic, and I didn't really, read a lot until in my 20s. I always just kind of used that as a crutch. And literally, I learned in my 20s the power of reading books. And to this day, man, I tell you, anytime I kind of get in the funk in life, I have to ask myself, what am I reading?
Hmm.
Because with social media and different things like that, it's easy to scroll through. And, depending on your algorithm, which mine is mainly fitness, nutrition, all those different things, I'm sure yours is too. It's easy to think we're getting fed good information, and you can get good information off that. But there's nothing more powerful than reading a book. What's some of the favorite books that you've read that has made a difference in your life?
Oh man, the one that jump started off for me was Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. That one just hit you in the
Yep.
face about mental toughness. So that was really good. The first book I ever read was The Secret of the Millionaire Mind by T. Harv Eker. It took me a while to get through. It's a very small book, but it showed me how to rethink about money. And I was like, okay, like maybe I should start reading more. Besides that, I love Extreme Ownership by Jocko, just because,
Yeah.
I think we need more leaders in society. And that book is all about taking ownership of your actions and things that happen around you. Even if it's not directly your fault, how can you take ownership of it? How can you get better? How can you make the people around you better? That's really changed a lot about me because I now hold myself to a higher standard, and people around me start to adapt to a higher standard because of the way they see me carry myself.
Yep. That's awesome. I know when you're working with your clients, when you and I talking, you're big onto accountability, and mental performance. I mean, what are some of the practices you do as a client comes in the door and says, Matt, I want you to change my life? What are some of the things you do through accountability and mental performance that makes a difference in them?
Yeah, first I'm going to check in with you. Like, it might get uncomfortable because you might not be hitting home runs day one, and that's okay. Like, let's start small. I always tell people that are starting with me, I was like, what can you consistently commit to? Is it 2 days a week? Is it 5 days a week? Is it 7 days a week? Because I'd rather us start a little bit smaller and then scale up rather than starting way big and then you get discouraged and you never show up in the gym again because you're not making that progress. You're not doing what you're supposed to. So let's start small. Let's start stacking those wins and then moving up, because you're going to start to fall in love with the process. You're going to start to love that accountability and that, hey, I'm putting more weight on the bar. I'm eating healthier. I see changes in the mirror, see changes on the scale. Um, so I really look at people and I figure out, like, what are you capable of doing right now? And we're to hit a home run with that. And then next we're going to move up a little bit, hit a home run with that. And over time, you're going to see a lot of change just because we're managing what we can control right now. With the mental performance, a lot of it is in the showing up. It's in doing the work. And I like to tell people, like, I'm not a perfect person. I'm not the number one coach in the world, but I do pride myself on the way I carry myself and the practices that I've been out there. I think there's a lot of truth in you become a better person through osmosis. If you surround yourself with better people, you will start to adapt to those habits, those standards. So I'm like, hey, if you want to become a better person, if you want to have what I preach and what I live, spend more time with me. This could be online. This could be in-person personal training. But let's see what things start to change. And I get text messages from people that listen to my podcast, people that train one-on-one, that they're like, hey, because of X, I now do Y because of the time spent with me. And it makes it all worth it. Like those days where you're in high school and college, reading the personal development book, wondering if it's ever going to pay off. Like I feel like that's finally starting to break through and that impact is happening. So it's so rewarding.
Yes, absolutely. And I know too, I tell everyone that I work with and have for years, Matt, I tell them, I know you're big on consistency, but I tell everyone it's, talking about that person that comes in and you really trying to make sure that they can commit to 2 days and do that without failing, or 3 days or whatever. Cause it's so easy for someone to come in and say, oh, I want to do this in 6 or 7 days every week. And, I tell everyone it's easy to create a plan. It's not hard to do the plan, but it's hard to do it consistently.
Yep.
And that's where a lot of people fail. And when they're looking to change their mindset, their physical, everything is staying consistent. And I know you use accountability, those top things. Is there anything other than them working through that and seeing their own personal growth that helps with that consistency and making sure that they're not falling off?
Yeah. I mean, let's keep it simple. Let's talk about what are the 3 things you should be doing on a daily basis that'll make you a better person. And how can we make sure we're mastering those 3? So if it's in a gym, if it's a new lifter, you don't need to be doing the most advanced movement because that's what social media tells you. And this is optimized, science-based. No, sometimes you just need to hop on a leg press and do the work and progress in that and learn the movement and get good at it. A body weight movement like a squat or a push-up or a pull-up, let's master those. Outside the gym, can you get 10,000 steps in a day? Absolutely. So let's do it. When it comes to nutrition, you don't need to be looking at the 5-star recipe that's difficult to make and takes you hours. You're going to get a lot of results if you just have like beef, sweet potato, some vegetables, a protein shake. You're going to be crushing it. So let's take all the noise from the outside, get rid of it. Let's keep it simple. And then once you can prove that you're doing those things consistently, then we'll start to optimize and make things a little bit more complex. But let's keep it simple because doing the simple things will give you the best results to start.
You're absolutely right. I had someone the other day, they asked me to look at their workout and say, can you help me tweak my workout? To more of like what yours is. I'm not getting the results I'm doing or getting the results I want. And so I said, well, the workout that you just showing me that you're doing, how many days are you doing it? And to come to find out, it was 1 day a week a lot of times and no more than 3 days a week. And I'm like, your problem's not in your workout. The problem is in your work ethic. It's not your workout. That's the problem. I know you also are big into making sure you follow your macros and different things. I'm a big protein guy. I don't do a lot of carbs and I only do them certain times. Also nutrition, how important is that? I know, a lot of stats you read says, nutrition's 85% of it, you should still got to do the work in the gym, but how much attention do you work with on following macros and different things with your clients as well?
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. Like I focus on protein the most, especially when I'm working with clients. Like we can get nitty gritty and show you all the macros and all the micronutrients, and it's going to confuse the hell out of you. But if we just say like, hey, you should be hitting a gram of protein per pound of body weight, I'm going to show you how to get there and the rest will fall into place. You're going to get some results. And again,
Yes.
if you prove to me that you can do that for a couple months, then we can start to worry about the other things. Nutrition is super important. And I'm not someone that's going to say, I eat the perfect diet 24/7 because I'll have a cheat meal once or twice a week. And that's okay. I prescribe to the let's be great 85% of the time and have 15% of flexibility, because that's going to be much more sustainable than 100% perfect because you're going to burn out and you're going to give up and get discouraged. So nutrition is very important. I'm going to say to people, if you're listening to this and you want somewhere to start, track your protein. There's a 90% chance that you're below the amount of protein you should be having a day. Figure out what it takes to be consuming that adequate amount of protein and do it every day for 2 weeks and tell me if you don't make changes because I'll be shocked.
Yeah. Yeah. I tell everyone, Matt, the same thing you do. I teach the same thing. Get your protein in first. I mean, like when I sit down for every meal, I eat my protein first.
Yep.
And I work with a lot of people, just not like what you're doing, but just giving them advice. They're like, "Well, I still have the munchies." I'm like, "If you'd ate 200 grams of protein today, you wouldn't have the
Mhm.
munchies right now. You'd be like so full and stuffed because it's so filling. But I don't know if you've encountered that or not. That's why you preach so much like I do on the protein. But they if they focus on the protein, like you said, they're not going to be wanting anything else.
For sure. Yeah. And if you get a little bit more complex, like not all proteins are created equal. So if you
Right.
are looking to get 100 grams of protein um, throughout the day, you're better off going with eggs, lean meat, that those types of sources, those animal based sources, because that's more bioavailable. If you're just crushing like 5 Quest bars a day, you're probably still going to be a little bit hungry because that protein, you're not going to be able to digest it all. And it's not the most bioavailable source. It's processed. So I would say also like you could be hitting your protein, but honestly, the protein waffles, the protein bars, all those different protein things out there that it's just a marketing ploy. Like it's honestly bullshit. If you just eat the eggs, eat the steak, chicken, you're going to be much better off.
Yep. Yep. The eggs, steak, and chicken. The only other thing that I do is of course, my company owns a protein shake that's grass fed whey and collagen. But I love doing that after my workouts. And
Hmm.
then, but I make two of them with egg whites. And then I don't use water or milk. I use egg whites. And then also I love doing a protein shake, just the powder in a Greek yogurt, and I mix it up
Mm,
like chocolate pretty.
yep.
But yeah, I'm agree with you, man. Just I haven't touched a protein bar and I don't know when. Now I always have one in my bag if I'm at a baseball tournament or something like that. I'm going to choose the protein bar over the nachos at the concession stand, 100%. But I'm not going to choose, a protein bar over eggs or my boys and I, we harvest a lot of elk and venison and different things like that. That's pretty much my protein intake is beef,
Yeah.
elk, venison. Do chicken. I'm not a big chicken person. Do a lot of tuna, but definitely, prefer venison, elk, different things like that. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that.
So
Eating good for
that's
sure.
absolutely, you got to, man. And I'm raising two athletes too. And I hope they listen to this podcast because I'm preaching it to
Hmm.
them all the time. Maybe they'll listen to you, Matt, more than they will me.
It's
Well, Matt, I tell you, it's a pleasure to have you on the Hard Truth podcast. I know you do some online training as well. If I'm listening to this podcast and I say, you know what, I want to up my game of fitness. People want to change, but they really don't know what that first step process is. I'm a big believer in a coach. I've got a coach. I believe that it helps with that accountability. It helps with knowing those steps to take if someone in the audience is listening and they want to hire you as a coach, what steps do they need to do?
Yeah, I appreciate that. So best way to reach me is going to be through social media. So Instagram, it's Matt_Lupi, and then Facebook, Matt Lupi as well. Lupi is spelled Lupi. So Instagram, I post a ton of content. You can feel free to message me. And then on Facebook, I'm actually building out, or I just built out a Facebook group, getting that up and running. It's called the Lupi Mindset. You can find it through my page, but that's going to be all about fitness, mindset, and all the things in between. But I do one-on-one coaching, also some group challenges every once in a while. So those are the best ways to get in touch.
That's awesome, Matt. I know at the end, I didn't prep you on this, but I tried to end with the hard truth and let the guest end it with the hard truth. Is there a hard truth that you would like to tell the audience today, whether it be fitness, mindset, where basically it's kind of like, you know what, people say this, but here's the truth. Is
Mm,
there anything that sticks in your mind that you want to deliver to the audience here for the hard truth fact of the day?
yeah, I love that. I think men for sure can definitely relate to this. I think you and I can relate to this as well. But it is your responsibility as a human to be physically fit and successful. There's no one out there that's going to give you a handout to help you, to give you a shortcut. It's needs to be earned, but it's also your responsibility. I think today in society, we have too many people that are doing the bare minimum. They're not getting in the gym. They're not pursuing their passions. They're not making money and building businesses and making themselves happy. It's sad to see that everybody's kind of just falling into that box that society puts them in. So it's your responsibility to go out, make it happen, and no one's going to help you except you yourself.
Love it, man. I just got through doing another podcast and I ended with something real similar to that by basically saying no one's going to come save you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, you deal with people over and over complain about their physical, their finances, all these different things. Matt, that's probably one of the best hard truths that we've had here at closing of a podcast. You're a champion, man.
Thank
And
you.
I encourage the audience to reach out to you, follow you on Instagram, find someone that's young, passionate, that understands it's not just about physical, it's about the mental mindset. So Matt Lupi, thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us on the Hard Truth Podcast with Matt Lupi out of Austin, Texas. Check out his podcast as well, Be Defined Success Podcast. Follow him on Instagram. And thank you guys. Share with your friends and family this episode. Good day and God bless.
Thank you, Jeremy.